Hey, it is a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Assan and Dani. How do you say your last name? I've never heard it.
Dobrikov.
Dobrikov.
Dobrikov,
And
yes.
that's Bulgarian?
Yeah, it's actually the English translation is a good man.
Oh, really? A good man? Well,
Yeah.
you are a good man. I can vouch for that. I've known you guys since, the earliest. What year did you guys open up in Tempe, Arizona?
Well, we opened the business in '93, but we moved here in Tempe on our last building, which right now it's kind of almost 9 years old.
9 years old.
So then, about 2007.
And did you and Donnie, you guys were born in Bulgaria?
Yes.
Did you meet in Bulgaria? Did you come
Yeah,
married or?
we met at college, right at the first day at college. I can lay eyes on Donnie, and that was it. I was chasing her for the next 2 years.
Oh, that is so cool. And what city? What's the capital of Bulgaria?
Sofia.
Oh, Sofia.
Yes.
That's right. And were you guys born? Did you go to college in Sofia?
Yeah, it was the college was in Sofia, and we went to college in 1986. So we've been together since the 86,
So how many years is that?
30.
Is it 30, 80, 90, 1,000, 16? Is it?
30.
Wow, you old. Wow.
So, Donnie, if you would have shot him at that first date and killed him, you'd be getting out of jail right now.
Probably.
Well,
No,
hey,
I didn't count. So here, yes, but then.
so the reason I wanted to get you on there is because you've always been a leader. You've always been on top of CE. And what I specifically want to talk to you about is, when I got out of school in '87, and you and Donnie, when you and Donnie had been together 1 year, there were 15,000 labs.
Hmm.
Now half the labs are gone. It's all starting to move digital. How do you describe Crown and Bridge Lab today as how they were different when you opened yours up in '93?
Oh, huge difference. I mean, back then we started with used equipment, old oven, and leftover porcelain from a friend of ours. And today, without new technology, you just kind of writing yourself out. I mean, I got people calling me almost on a monthly basis. They're losing their clients, they can't afford the new equipment, and they're just looking for a job. It's insane. So it's totally different dentistry today. It's all about digital and CAD/CAM and be more productive and more efficient.
And it used to be some of these lab techs could only make 5 PFMs a day,
Yep.
and now some of these lab techs on CAD cam are making 50 crowns a day.
Correct. They can design, anywhere from, a good designs anywhere from 30 to 50 a day, thanks to technology. And, the funny thing is when CAD/CAM came out, like, what, 7, 10 years ago, we all thought, oh, we're going to hire these kids that are playing, video games and they know computers and softwares and they're going to just rock out our crowns for like $10 an hour. You can't. You need a good people who know dentistry still. They need to know morphology, anatomy, and all that stuff, function. It didn't work that way. So we tried to transform our technicians who would like to change, because some people don't want to change, from the bench, from the regular manual waxing procedures to the computer, and usually those become the best designers for us.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you a gazillion questions like I always have
No
been for
problem.
30 years. And I've been in your lab several times. You're an amazing man. So let's just start with the old school impressions.
Yes.
I'm just going to bullet fire through a lot of questions. Is there any impression material you guys like more than others? I mean, there's basically the old Impergum guys. I think I've only used
If
Impergum.
you mention Impergum, I would say the same thing. We probably see the most consistency with the Impergum, by the way.
And that's 3MSB. I mean,
Yeah,
and
3M, yes.
so that's a polyether.
Yes.
Why do you like a polyether? Do you like polyethers better than polyvinyls?
For me, it doesn't matter because I don't work on the mouth with the impression itself and how it flows, but I see more consistency with the polyether.
And do you think it's because everybody that uses it buys that Pentamix mixer and it just even mixed better than, say, a hand caulking gun on the chair side?
Probably, or just because the material is more consistent.
Just a better material.
Like and all that stuff. So I really don't have a personal preferences on which impression comes to me, as long as we don't have to remake it. It looks good in the mouth, it should fit in the mouth, but we see probably the Improgam is the one the most consistent, that people who use the Improgam, I think we have the lowest rate of remakes.
And that was a German company, SB, and then 3M bought it up, and now
Yeah.
it's a 3M SB. If they were going to use a polyvinyl, is polyvinyl? I mean, is it all generic, or is there any brands that you think are higher quality?
The things, when it comes to us, we don't see the brands.
You can't tell just by looking at it.
Cannot tell the brand anymore, because there's so many knockouts out there that look alike and introduce them maybe under this different name, but I can definitely distinguish the Improgam right away.
Okay, here's another question, shade of gray. I mean, I think most dentists know when you can go from a single, a bite. What do you call it?
Quadrant?
Yeah, bite. A quadrant bite tray for a single molar. I mean, the most common tooth crown is a first molar. Most crowns are sent in one at a time. I mean, a first molar. Do you have any problem with just a quadrant tray?
No, it's fine.
Do you have any preference towards with sides or sideless? Like there's a sideless Premier triple tray. Do you like the sides on them to hold the impression better, or do you think that alters the bite and you like sideless Premier?
Well, what we see actually with the quadrant impressions, we see quite a big challenge with those aluminum trays.
The reusables.
The reusables. Especially the aluminum, we see a lot of inconsistency, because aluminum has no memory. So when you pull it from the mouth, or my technician holds it a little bit heavier, and if it squeezes a little bit, has no memory to go back. So those are really not favorite to us. The plastic ones are pretty good, and the higher the borders on the side,
bite on the plastic.
Yeah, as long as they don't bite on a plastic area with their teeth. Or usually the retro molar pad, sometimes there's a little space between retro molar pad and the tuberosity on the back, on the top. So as long as these two don't squeeze the impression material, most of the time we have no problems. And the higher the borders buckle lingually, the more compresses the material to the gingiva, so you get a better result that way.
So then you don't like a sideless triple tray.
Yes,
You like sides.
Yeah, I mean, just the sideless are not very. You get sometimes half of the opposing,
Okay, so then when do you want full arch impression, upper and lower?
Anytime that we have like a, say, 3-unit bridge or more than 2 units,
More than 3.
2 or 3 units, I would prefer a full arch impression.
Okay, Donnie said more than 3. Is that 4 and above, or is that 3 and above?
3 and above.
3 and above. So 3 and above, you want full arch.
Yes.
And when do you want a Facebow transfer, and when do you want it on a semi-adjustable articulator?
Honestly, I went to a lot of Facebow classes and with Frank Spear and a lot of other people, but doctors don't use a lot of Facebow. They teach them at school, and unless you specialize how to use a Facebow, we have a lot of inconsistency coming to us. Unless you take the Facebow and articulate yourself, it's almost 50% of the time it's way off, either to the side or up or degree of inclination. So our favorite one, actually, if you want me to mention, it's Coist Facebow. Very inexpensive, very easy to use. There's a 5-minute video you can watch, and anybody can do it. And we usually do a lot of full arch cases with a lot of doctors who have been to different schooling and all stuff. And actually 99% of the cases we do with the Coist Facebow. It's so easy and forgiving and predictable. We barely have any problems.
And you want me to give you a cleanup trick with that?
Yes.
When you want to clean up the Coist Facebow, you just use Windex.
Okay.
Because he's Greek.
There you go.
Did you see that movie, The Big Fat Greek Wedding?
There you go. I was going to say that.
That was just a joke.
Connection to the Greek?
Yeah.
What's that?
Any relation to the Greek?
To the Greeks?
Is he any relation to Greek?
Yeah.
He's 100% Greek.
There you go.
But what? Explain more. A lot of these listeners, they've never seen the Coist Facebow. Why is the Coist Facebow better?
It's a very simple. It's like a fox plate with a vertical stick. If you go and Google it, coist.com or Coist Facebow, you can see the video. It's such a cool thing. And it's very simple to use. It's like a horizontal plate with a vertical stick, and that's all you need to capture all the relations, you know, the proper position of the model for the laboratory. And it's very simple and attaches only one single plastic plate to the Fox plate, and you just unplug that and send only this little thing, the little white plate, to the laboratory. So you keep everything with you, and the lab gets that little disposable plastic, a plate, which you have the total registration of the horizontal plane. It's very simple, nothing gets distorted, and it's just right on the money every time. It's
And I
very
bet,
and inexpensive. It's under $300 compared to 1,500 or 2,500 of the other face balls, which is very, very challenging to use. And I'm not against it, don't get me wrong. I'm all about doing things precisely and
More complicated.
the best way, but it's so complicated sometimes. Doctors get lost very quickly unless you constantly use it all the time and you're dealing with the condyle problems and stuff. For the day-to-day dentistry and a simple full mouth reconstruction, Cois is just plenty.
I need to get someone to make an online CE quiz of the quiz Facebow.
And the Cois people actually do that. They have online stuff, they have a videos, the right on, the live video how to use the Cois Facebow and the benefits and everything.
Right on. That's a good shout. And a good shout out to Dr. Cois. I'm sure he's very happy now. I
Yeah.
just saw that his son is getting married.
Oh, yeah?
He's
Cool.
got to be happy about that. Okay, so let's switch to when I was in dental school and taking my first Crown and Bridge classes. I mean, this you're talking about 84, 85. They were saying that Cerac's coming. It started with the guy in France, then it got it's been all over these countries. Finally came to America. But anyway, they said that was going to be the end of labs. There'd never be a lab as when the Cerac's done. And then so I bought it. I bought the Cerac 1. It's horrible. Then I bought Cerac 2. But it's come a long way in these 30 years. What has what has the Cerac machine specifically done to Crown and Bridge labs in America?
Really took a lot of business away unless you're Cerac Connect and you have the same equipment. It's not a bad system. It's reality. We all adapt to it. We had also the first Cerac in lab. Was a disaster. It's a good system for itself, but with today's technology, you can go a lot more reasonable and much more open, because one thing with a Cerac, it's a closed system. So they say it's
Right.
open, but it's still closed. You cannot do everything what they do with the same equipment. And what I've done it, every laboratory is using business here and there. So instead of the easy bread and butter from these doctors, we're getting the most challenging stuff. So actually learn us to do more challenging. We always done challenging stuff. We like combo cases. But for other laboratories, if you're not good on a complicated stuff, combo stuff, multiple units, definitely can run you out of business. But if you can do both, you're okay, because soon, anyway, the doctor will send you that difficult stuff, and the veneers and the multiple units and multiple implants are kind of tough to do yourself.
So are you Cerac Connect?
Yes, we are Cerac Connect.
Yeah, and so what percent of your clients from just say the last 10 years, 2007, 2016, what percent of your clients did get a Cerac machine?
Probably about 7%. 7%, yes.
More than that.
Yeah.
It's more than
Donnie, you think it's more?
She thinks more, but that's not only Cerac, that's a D4D and all that stuff, because a lot of doctors buying some of those systems also.
Yeah, the E4D Plan Mecca.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I would say 10% now, maybe 12% of the doctors have already some kind of digital milling in their office.
and so they're mostly doing a lot of their single units and then
Yeah.
sending you the multiple units.
Yeah, and after a few months, they're realizing, hey, that's a lot of work.
Right.
They start doing a little bit less, so they send more again. But they're stuck. They're stuck with it, and they have to use it. And actually, I'm having doctors calling me more and more that the milled units, EMAX that they used to get from laboratory or they did it themselves, they kind of, anywhere between 3 and 4 years start cracking and breaking, start replacing some of them. Not all of them, but quite a bit. I just had a phone call last week from another doctor with the same problem. So Prest is always stronger than the milled in-house. But some laboratory, because they bought the equipment, they only milled it because it's easier and quicker. So milled is always more fragile than pressed.
So, if someone's going to get a CAD cam, you said CEREC was a closed system. What are there any open systems that you like?
Oh yeah, I mean, pretty much. If you ask my opinion, really, it's like every system that it's open that can work with any other equipment, it's preferable because the dentist has more freedom, and the cost is a little bit lower. I mean, quite a bit lower sometimes.
And what name brands would that be?
I mean, of course, the most expensive scanner is the Trio now, the 3Shape, but the 3Shape just got voted again the most accurate scanner in the market. And 3M is also, it's open, and Planmaker open.
What's 3M's called?
3M is the 3M.
What's the brand name?
It's from 3M.
Right.
It's the intraoral scanner.
But it has a name though.
Oh, I had the name somewhere.
3Shape's out of Denmark, isn't it?
Yeah, 3Shape's from Denmark. And also another thing that why the 3Shape is really getting more and more popular because like 80% of the laboratories in the world are using a 3Shape.
80%.
80% in the world, the laboratory is using a 3Shape. So it's more direct communication with the lab. The image from the chair goes directly to the laboratory.
And it's easy to
And it's easy, and it's
design it.
easier to work with the software, and it's constantly evolving with like all the other ones are evolving.
It's
But
3M's is true definition, isn't it? Isn't it called the 3? Yeah, the 3M true definition scanner.
yes, the
Okay.
3 definitions are 3M, yes.
But you like the 3Shape better.
Well,
Yes.
it's definitely better, more precise image. But seems to me people buy more and more 3M because of decent image, and I think because of price. But 3Shape is probably, if you ask any laboratory, I bet you they'll tell you 3Shape, and that's the real truth.
It's easy to design in that system.
Easy to work, easy to design, and the quality of the image
Yeah,
is
most of the quality.
is the most accurate
For 3Shape.
for 3Shape.
Okay, so what percent of your business is coming in on a oral scanner as opposed to an old polyether polyvinyl impression?
Almost, I would say 8% now. And actually, almost every month is growing more and more because people are calling me on a bi-weekly basis almost, what should I buy, what should I buy, what should I buy? I mean, digital is definitely, it's going to be, here to stay. And the predictability, the prediction is the next, 2 to 3 years, it's going to be in every office like a digital x-ray. If you don't have it, you're behind.
And do you have any? Have you seen less remakes or
Absolutely. Oh, that's the biggest. The remake factor and the precision, the consistency of the final restoration is what really pays off the whole deal. I have doctors we used to do a lot of regular impression and PFMs, and when we start doing the digital, it's really, they say, man, the consistency of margins and contacts, it's amazing. We barely have to touch anything, and we barely have any remake because of open margin or short margin anymore. And it also helps the doctor really improve their preparation because they see the prep on a huge screen before they send it out, and sometimes like, did I really do that? So they kind of start improving their preps, margins, everything. I mean, just if we can do it all digital,
well, to me, this is what I love the most about CEREC when I first got it is, first you have naked eye vision in the 80s, and then you get 2.5 loops, then you get up to 3, and it's so much better. But then when you take those purple impergums and you're trying to look under the light, and then I bought this magnification light thing, and I'd stick it under there. But when you scan an impression and you see that tooth 40x up on that screen, my God, that just shows you everything that's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes them better dentists very quickly, and we have a better result, and we have a very almost like 0.5% remake on margins on those, and things are not fitting. So it just is a finally dream come true, but it's going to take time to really convert more and more dentists.
And how much is that that three-shaped trios?
I think the three-shaped trios is the most expensive one on the market. It's around 35,000 average. But I bought also the most expensive scanners for me because I need that consistency and quality and productivity to really go up, not to make me challenge myself every day. So it just really worth the money, if people can afford it.
And so your bread and butter. So what is your bread and butter? A 3-unit bridge? I mean, if I said to you,
Yes.
the 80/20 rule, what is 80% of your revenue? Is it
Yeah,
still a single unit?
Definitely singles. Yeah, Emax and Broxer, Zirconia, and up to 300 bridge.
Now, Bruxer, that's a brand name. Is that?
I mean, yeah, always full Zirconia BRX.
BRX?
Yeah.
Full Zirconia? Because Bruxer, that name's owned by Glidewell, right?
I know that. So that's why we did it. But it's a nickname. Everybody's using it just to communicate things between themselves. So, yeah, I mean, our brand is full Zirconia BRX.
You're actually friends with Jim Glidewell, aren't you?
Say again?
You're actually friends with Jim Glidewell, aren't you?
Yeah, we met him numerous times. I walked his facility with Dani before we designed Dani Dental at the moment. And he's been always a great, communicator and friend, and sharing, anything we want with him. It's
four times I've had the honor to lecture for Cal Labs meeting in Chicago, and I just thought that was so cool that here he was the biggest man in the industry, and he had no problem lecturing to that group, answering any question, telling you anything you did right or wrong. He was a guy. And you've been that way too. You've always had an open door. Anybody can go down there and interrupt you, making money, to ask you questions. And
we don't keep secrets, and sharing with each other actually makes you better and stronger. And if you have a small heart that you think, I'm not going to tell anybody about this because they may take my business, I don't see the competition as a competitor stealing my business. It's if I lose somebody, it's my problem. I didn't do something right. So I always try to work with my colleagues, other lab owners, and as close as we can. It just only can improve us and get better than the other way around.
That was the same thing I noticed in my practice here in Ahwatukee for 30 years. When I got here, I was a young, eager dentist, and I ran across the street, knocked on all the dentist doors, thinking they're all going to be my buddies and friends, and half of them were just like, saw me as a competitor and slammed the door and didn't want to have anything to do with anything. And the other half just like, let's go have a beer and watch the game and let's talk dentistry. And 30 years later, those guys who thought in hope, growth, and abundancy crushed it. And the other half who thought in fear and scarcity just had, miserable careers that, I thought would be very unsatisfying. So, you got to, and I love that hope, growth, and abundancy. And I like saying that because I know abundancy is not a word. That's why I use it. It's like my book, Uncomplicate Dentist, Uncomplicate Business. So many people email me. When I type in uncomplicate, it spell checks and wants to correct the spelling. And I said, that's exactly why I used it. You type in uncomplicate and in Google, and my book comes up.
Yep.
And so you say that your bread and butter is still a single unit.
Yes, definitely. And it seems to me that it's kind of one of those things the last few years, it's either the single up to 300 bridge, or these bigger cases that couldn't wait anymore, and now it's time to do the full mouth or one arch or something, combo stuff. It's either it's almost nothing in the middle anymore that used to be,
What do you think that's from?
Because of the way the technology push, bread and butter, and also implants. Implants now a huge thing. I mean, GPs are really opening to implants, so instead of a 4, 5, 6 unit bridges, we barely have any of those, which is, we know how long they last. So people try to put more implants, so it becomes to a singles and stuff. So
2015 was the first year in the United States that all the implant manufacturer data in the United States is showing that GPs last year for the first time placed more implants than the specialists, which is mostly oral surgeons.
It's going to keep growing. It's going to keep growing.
Well, let's go to what are the dentists, they know their end. They cut the prep, they pack the cord, they know their end, but they don't get to spend any time at your end. And even if they went and visited a lab, that's still not even going to be 1% of the time at their end.
Yeah.
What do you think the dentist needs to know about your end? What are some low hanging fruit, best practices, things they could do to increase their quality? And the other thing, the dentist sending in the impression, they only see their impression. You get to see how many different doctors' impressions do you get to see? You get to see a lot. So talk to them about what it's like being on your end and what they could do to increase their quality, reduce their remakes. You know, what do you think you see every day that they don't?
They don't see the model after it's poured up. Even when I go and help a doctor chairside, and as you said, we look in the impression, looks good, but when you pour the stone, you always see more. That's why I'm sure it's a practice of every laboratory. Almost 15% of the work that comes in ends up on a phone call bench.
15%?
15%. I'm not lying to you.
1.5.
1.5. Sometimes even a little bit more, depends on the situations. But either not enough reduction, not clear margins, and not full instructions written down. These are the things that we see more, but more than anything, it's unclear impression, unclear margins, and not enough reduction of posterior teeth, which is very challenging for everybody. I don't blame them. They just have to pay more attention to it and use some kind of occlude check, little taps that give you 1.5 or 2 millimeter occluding taps to make sure you have the clearance. That's why digital is so helpful. As soon as you scan your stuff, you see everything, and you need even you see the occlusal clearance if it's too close or too high. And very often on a back second molars, and Frank Spear is very big on it, and not just him, but Dawson, most people who do prosthodontics and teaching, they say second molar can extrude. I mean, it looks good on impression, but by the time the crown is done, and extrude a little bit more, and your temper is like very light, even from the very first day when you prep it. And that's why those are one of the first ones to go, because they are pounding themselves. As soon as you prep it, the bite just relaxes down and closes the space a little bit more. So those are kind of often, things that people should keep in mind. But
do you agree with this statement or not? Because as an old fart, I think when you get an impression and there's not enough clearance, from my end, I think the thing was they took the impression before they made the final temporary. And I think that that's the most common mistake I see. And when you make your temporary, when you turn back your temporary, you're like, wow, if you can't see the margin on the temporary, how the hell are you going to see it with the impression?
Exactly.
And you're doing your temporary. I mean, I can't tell you how many temporaries I started, and then I'm looking at it, and I throw it away and go back in there with a high speed, and then you're making your occlusal, and you're adjusting the occlusal, your temporary, then you go through. I mean, these should all be solved in the temporary, and all that means to me is if you can't see the margin and you don't have enough reduction, they always make their temporary, and I've stood in a gazillion offices, and you see it. They get done prepping, they pack the cord, or they break out the AMD laser, they take an impression, and then they're just done.
Yeah,
they're just done, and it's like, okay, that's totally ass backwards.
Yeah, and another things that we see.
Temporary are good, if you have a nice, good temporary, your contacts are more stable. You don't have to adjust contacts, because sometimes if the temporary are open, the teeth shift. In the crowns with a very tight contacts.
Yeah, we see that happening, especially seasonally for some reason. Yeah. After Christmas, before the summer, and again before Christmas. I don't know if the weather changes or something.
Well, the busy time.
Yeah, when the busiest time, people just like out. And we have sometimes dogs like everything was good, and suddenly all my contacts are high, or occlusion is high.
No,
and we didn't see any difference here. We're checking everything, make sure it's good. Then I go to the office sometime, and we verify the temporary from the mouth and the crown on the model. So when the contacts are usually high, when you put the temporary from the mouth on the model, the crown looks good, right? But the temporary has space, so between mesial and distal contacts. So that means the temporary is done. We lose contacts, the teeth shift, and there you go, we have a tight contacts. And opposite way, when the temporary is maybe too tight, then you have open contacts, can shift back teeth sometime. So these are the things that we see, and we go and talk and monitor things, and it just usually on a week later, boom, it's all gone. We kind of communicate that problem with doctors sometime and make sure we're all on the same page. Not saying that we never do the wrong things here, but when we check everything and still continues, then probably that's the last resort, which usually ends up to be.
So what percent of your dentists do you think pack cord? I'm talking on a first molar. I mean, it's totally different in aesthetics
Yeah.
on incisors, but on a first molar, your standard and most common crown. What
Hmm.
percent are packing cord versus taking a laser like an AMD diode laser and troughing around the tissue? And what do you like better?
For me, sometimes it's hard to say from the impression every time, but I still see about 80% of packing cord, and but I'm not sure if the 80% packing cord double cord. Sometimes seems to me only one, and it kind of it's not clear very much where the margin is. And but I see more and more of the new dentists, the new generation dentists, really trying hard to do double packing cord and impressive, getting better and better. And
And do you see any increased quality if they laser trough around the tooth or not? Or I mean, is that a game changer or not really?
not for me. As long as I can see the margin, it doesn't matter which way it was, retract the tissue. So for me, it doesn't matter. It matters later on. Depends on the packing cord more aggressively or the laser cut. Which one will give you more gum recession? So when it's done, either your margin is there or not. The
So
gum is there.
So did you ever think in 1993 when you started Crown and Bridge Lab, did you ever think that you would see the fall of the PFM?
Never even thought about it,
Isn't that
honestly.
and what percent of your PFM market has been replaced with full porcelain?
Almost 70%.
So you still do 30% PFMs?
Yeah, we still do some PFMs. I would say, close to 30%, 25, 30%. And let me tell you, especially with zirconia, when we started doing zirconia 7 years ago, all of us, the technicians, everybody was teaching us, I don't know if you remember, everybody was teaching us, oh, zirconia, you treat it like a PFM. The framework can be thin joints, nice, right, skinny. No, it doesn't work that way. If you don't have enough occlusal clearance and thickness to make a nice beefed up joints, like almost like an Emax, then we had some zirconia breakage. So we learned the first couple of years, you cannot treat zirconia like a regular PFM material and use it everywhere. So
Now when you're okay, when you're talking about 25 to 30% use of still PFM, we're talking singles. I'm not talking about a 3-unit bridge or something like that, but
yeah,
I'm talking.
singles and bridges.
Okay,
Singles,
well take out the bridges.
yeah,
If 100 single unit
yeah.
white tooth colored crowns are sent in, what percent of those would be a PFM versus a non
I
PFM?
think about 25.
Okay, so let's talk about that specifically because the dentist sending you in and writing, I want a PFM on tooth number 3, that's they just see their end. When
Yeah.
it gets to you, would you like seeing a number 3 PFM, or do you think it should have been zirconium or Emax, or talk about that?
Well, we actually slowly converting doctors, try to convert them from PFM to zirconia, you know, uh, and we talk to them. Zirconia, Emax depends on occlusion. But a lot of doctors just stuck on it for insurance purposes or any other purposes. They're
Well,
just comfortable.
it's also, the old generation is very hard to change them
Yes.
to the new stuff,
Okay, now watch out what you're saying because I'm 53. How old is old? I want to know your definition of old, Donnie.
You're probably with an open mind,
Yeah.
but there is a doctors in your age, I'm saying they're not old by age, but it's the old way of
Old
doing
school. They
the
just
old
don't want to
school.
give up.
They don't want to give up. They're used to it something. They think that's good for them, and they don't want to change.
Humans, dogs, cats, donkeys, we just don't like change. If it's not broke.
Like exchange. I totally understand them, and it works for them, and they have a good success. We're still doing it.
It's the same way like if you have a chamfer shoulder or knife edge. It's like some doctors doesn't want to change to do a chamfer margin. They want to do the knife edge margin.
Okay, and what's better on your end, a chamfer or a knife edge or a shoulder?
It's better. A chamfer shoulder, they're almost the same to me. They're almost the same.
One is round, the other one is 90 degree the base.
Well, it does not make a really big difference for us.
So if it's a shoulder or a chamfer, there's no difference at your end?
Yeah, for scanning and finishing final product, not a big
There's
deal.
no big difference. But between chamfer and shoulder and knife edge, it's a big difference.
Yeah, doctor switching from knife edge bevel to chamfer and shoulder, it's very difficult sometimes. Especially if they're used to all their life with a bevel, all around with a straight burr and never do the finish line and everything. like a shoulder chamfer, those guys are really difficult for them to change.
Knife edge is very hard to scan it and design a knife edge because the way how the machines, pick up the margin, see everything is very hard.
So you like a chamfer? That sounds like you. If you could just pick one, you take a chamfer.
Yeah. Chamfer.
And is that would you say it's a light chamfer, medium, heavy?
Yeah.
Not too heavy, not too heavy.
Yeah, but when you do too big of a chamfer, then you go to a J margin, and that's double, with double edge. So we got to be careful about that. So about a millimeter, 0.8 to a millimeter maximum, it works perfect.
No more than millimeter.
No more than a millimeter, because sometimes doctors start chasing cavities and all that stuff at the gingiva, and they go too deep, and never kind of rebuild, and it's huge. These big shoulder margins, it becomes almost J margin, and that sometimes creates more problems than to help.
Okay, so talk to this dentist right now. Why do you want? It sounds like you want this dentist to switch from a PFM to a zirconium. Talk about that. Why?
Why? First, it's a metal-free, and it's actually easy to sell to the patients. If you show a female patient on a beautiful PFM with a dark metal inside, or kind of even ugly-looking zirconia crown that it's all white, guess which one they pick? And they're actually willing to pay a little bit more for it. And also, with all ceramics now, the colors are so good, and we all laboratories. Aesthetically looks better, and the other thing, you don't have to prep as deep on a new ceramics and Emax and zirconia. You can stay up the gum or slightly even above the gum, because the ceramic restoration blends in with the rest of the tooth, and even the gum pulls out later. It looks all the same. So you don't have to go as aggressive subgingivally. You don't have to pack even cord for most of the time if you stay, slightly above the gum on most areas and the posteriors. And it's so much easier and cleaner restoration.
Well, it's also, you don't have to be aggressive on the buccal side to create a nice shade. In the PFM, you have to get a little more aggressive buccally because you have a metal, you have the opaque, and you have to have certain thickness of porcelain to create the shade. The right shade. Otherwise, becomes more grayish looking. Doesn't matter what kind of gold you're using.
Yeah. What would you say to the dentist? I mean, I know people are just doing everything the same. Some dentists, every single time they send it to Emax, I'm talking about first molars. Some every time they send it to Emax, some every time it's zirconium. Talk about the difference in when Emax versus zirconium on a first molar.
Yeah, Emax you should use when you have an ideal occlusion. If patient easygoing, no broxing, no grinding and all stuff, all the rest of anatomy of the mouth it's existing, so have a canine guidance and all stuff, no problem. You can go Emax all day long. But when they have started having some aware and a flat occlusion and like a no lateral disocclusion, then you better go with zirconia. And also another thing I can add to the zirconia. People say, you can do zirconia like a gold cone, 0.5 occlusive clearance. You can't. I mean, you can, but first, looks flat. Second, zirconia also breaks. I like the hammer test. It looks beautiful, but that's ideal. So every time you're pushing the limits below a millimeter on occlusion and you try to adjust a little bit just to make it work, it could ask for trouble. So we still should have about a millimeter minimum of occlusion for a zirconia.
More aesthetic. Has a better aesthetic than the Emax. Than the zirconia.
So let's switch to now. Like when I'm looking at you, Donnie, I never see my teeth. I never see my teeth. I never see them in a picture. It looks like I'm edentulous. When I'm looking at you, I just seen just a few anteriors. But let's say a woman comes in, high aesthetic needs, high lip line, upper incisors. What material you like?
Emax.
Still, Emax is the most aesthetic one.
Okay, and what about veneer? What if it was veneers? Would it be Emax or feldspathic stacked porcelain?
Emax. No, we used to do feldspathic, and I know a lot of people still do, but the strength of feldspathic is 3 times less than an Emax, so we can
They break more easy.
Yeah, they break easier. So Emax.
Or you have to be very aggressive on a prep.
Yeah, properly done Emax with a nice cut back and layering on top, it's stronger and better, and it just works great. So. And
you and I just saw the biggest North American dental company, Dentsply, marry the biggest German company, Sirona. Now it's Dentsply Sirona. Dentsply has its own block, its own porcelain. Do you think that's going to be a game changer for Ivoclar, or does that change the scene anything?
And it's not only Ivoclar, I'm seeing more and more companies coming up with lithium silica or disilica. I think that patent is expiring soon, if not already did, and more and more people coming with that material, just a matter of time before they flood the market.
When's that lithium silicate patent expire?
I'm not sure, don't quote me for it, but I think it's about to expire. So people are already working on a replacement and a knockouts for that.
Do you use any Dentsply porcelains in your?
Oh yeah, we use Ceramco 3 for our PFMs.
Say that slower.
Ceramco 3 for our porcelain fused to metal. And we use a Vita for all the zirconia restoration to build up.
Is Vita Dentsply?
No.
Okay.
Vita,
So
no.
Ceramco 3 porcelain, that's Dentsply.
Yeah, that's the play.
And then you use Vita, which is just its own company?
Yeah, its own company.
Out of Germany?
Yeah.
Is that the only porcelain used from Dentsply?
Yes.
That's the only porcelain, yes.
What do you think about their CAD/CAM block?
I mean, I actually have some samples that we're going to try pretty soon here. It's early to say. It just came on the market, and I hate to be a guinea pig for something that may fail. So I'm going to go very slow with just few doctors, see how they like it. We're going to monitor it, and, we'll see where it goes.
Okay, let's switch to implants. A lot of dentists, they look at implant systems based on, them placing it. When you're restoring implants, is an implant to implant to implant, or are some systems more lab friendly?
Unfortunately, for the three big ones, Nobel and 3i and Straumann, those are great companies. Thanks to them that we are today where the implants are. These are great companies. The things, and Zimmer, of course, which are one of the pioneers.
Is it Zimmer or Zimmer Biomet?
It's Zimmer Biomet.
Okay, Zimmer Biomet.
Yeah, I think, and it's one of those things that, unfortunately, for them, unfortunately, good for everybody else. I think it's just one of these open world market. A lot of the implants are really not not much, any bad from what these guys are. So it seems to me most implants now they integrate and they copycat of some of these three, and it's one of those things that today almost doesn't matter which implant system you're using as long as we have a good support, customer service, reasonable price. Doctors are going. More and more GPs are going for everything else but the four big ones. Because it's easier,
But from your end, from the lab's end, you don't really care what implant system the dentist is using.
It doesn't matter as long as they have a good connection and consistent supply of parts.
And the implant is in the right place.
Implants in the right place. That's the most important for me.
And what percent of the time are those? Oh, so you said 15% of your incoming cases require a telephone call to the doctor.
Yes.
And what percent of those, if they were implant cases?
Probably half of them.
50%.
Of the 15.
So of the 15% of the cases you receive where you got to make a phone call, half of those cases would be it's an implant case.
Yeah, and the reason for that is sometimes because doctors sometimes would like certain restoration, but the angulation and all that stuff of where things are going on after we pour the model and what we need to achieve, there will be some kind of different way of restoring that, and we need to tell the doctor, it's more challenging or maybe more simple way. So we always delegate to the doctor. If it cannot be what they're expecting, we tell them, make them, give them a couple options, they make decision, everybody's happy. So we always kind of look for that.
Well, that's so what okay, so they're half your phone calls. What percent of your business is actually implant cases?
I would say about 15%.
So then a disproportionately large percentage of your implant cases require a phone call as opposed to a crown and bridge.
Yes, and
you have a guy dedicated to that.
Yeah, we have a dedicated people just dealing with implants. A supervisor and implant coordinator, all they do is just implants all day long. And it's growing, which is great. Implants are just growing without even marketing them. More and more GP are calling almost on a weekly basis. What should I use? What should I do?
What if one of my homies listening to you right now wants to talk to you guys or communicate with you? How do they get a hold of you?
They can call the laboratory directly to my cell phone, either way.
Well, give some numbers.
My cell phone is 602
Okay.
525
525.
9400.
So 602-525-9400.
Correct. Or the laboratory, if I'm not available, say by any accident I'm traveling because summer comes up, they can call the laboratory 480-449-0909 and ask for Maria if she's a customer service representative or any of the other people can help them.
Maria. Now, is Maria Hispanic or Hispanic?
No, she's Bulgarian.
Really? That's a common name in Bulgaria?
Maria Baird, yeah.
Is that right? It is so funny. That seems that it's the most common name in my practice. My practice is 25% Hispanic.
There is a song in Bulgaria that every second name it's Maria. Second name of women.
Now, is Bulgarian is it a Catholic country? Is that from
it's Greek Orthodox.
It's Greek Orthodox.
It's
that's really
a little bit of everything, but about 90% Greek Orthodox.
so the Catholics split into Catholics and Greek Orthodox in Constantinople about what year was that?
Oh,
About 1,000? Was that about
about that much.
about 1,000 years ago?
A long time ago, yes.
Because when I go to a Greek Orthodox church, it's pretty darn similar. I mean,
Oh yeah, very similar. It's all Christian, very similar, but kind of a little bit in a different way. You know, it's kind of
who's crazier, Greek Orthodox or Catholics?
both.
You said both?
You know, the Catholic Easter we passed Catholic Easter 2 weeks ago, and Greek Orthodox Easter is actually on May 1st this year. So I have the privilege to celebrate both, and that's the beauty of America. You can celebrate everybody's holiday.
That is nothing wrong with more holidays.
Yes.
What other tips do you think you could give these guys listening?
Well, if you can get on the digital wagon, it's time. Because
Okay, but let me stop you there. Do you recommend that they would start with a $35,000 3-shape oral scanner, or would you recommend that they actually go into the scanner milling machine, CAD/CAM, Cerac, E4D?
I would advise them to start with the scanner first, open system, which is except Sirona, everybody else is open. And from there, if you want to really buy your own milling system, it could be twice as less expensive for you later on, and by having the right products lined up. And I would advise every doctor, if they're going to buy any CAD/CAM system, to call the laboratory first. Unless they buy Sirona. Sirona great at selling. They sell everything, but you end up with twice as much more expenses for the system materials and everything.
But I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, Assan and Dani, they're biased because they got a lab. But who do you think makes a better single unit crown? A dentist, an assistant chairside milling, or a lab tech who makes 30 to 50 a day?
What do you think?
I know. It's extremely different. I mean,
what amazes me, again, we have to be honest here. A doctor who was so picky before for about what we give them back.
I know.
They buy this Cerac machine that looks half of our quality. And say, oh, it's the best thing ever happened to me. 6 months later, of course, they come back, a lot of them. But it's one of those things that when people invest their own money in it, they like it better.
you know Tom Mattern, right?
Huh?
You know Tom Mattern, the dentist in Ahwatukee, my buddy down the street.
Yes.
I'm on L8 and 48th. He's on 48th and Chandler, 3 miles down the street. Went to Creighton together, known each other forever. He and I both agree. In fact, what he finally did for his scanner, he just has a lady come in they just do the scans and then temporize and send them on their way. Then they have a lab person come in on Wednesdays and design it and make them all.
Yeah, that's part of the future. And also, by us being more efficient, productive as a laboratory, we're actually working towards turning around time to be a day or two maximum. If we got a digital scanner for zirconia Emax, we can turn the chrome probably next day or the day after without rush fee. That's where everything is going. Streamline, more productivity.
Yeah, but I don't actually like that. I don't actually like that. I don't know if it's because I'm old school, but it seems like when you numb up a tooth and prep it and press it and temporize it, and they've been in your office, it's kind of like if I punch you and you get a bruise,
Hmm.
it's completely gone in 10 days. It's kind of like when they come back 2 weeks later, everything's perfect, it's all settled down,
Yep.
no bleeding, sending you paw, tempering it back on.
Yep.
I don't want to see the patient the next day because
Yeah.
it's harder to numb. It's you just beat them up yesterday, and now you're coming in for you gave them a jab, and now they're going to come in the next day and give them a left hook. I mean, I loved
Yeah.
it 2 weeks later.
But it seems to me everybody's looking for shorter and shorter turnaround time for turning their money quicker. Seems to me it's becoming a trend, and of course we now will be able to provide it. And we went from 10 days down to 5 6 days for our zirconia maxes, and now we can easily working towards making for 3 or 2 days in the
If
future,
needs to, if needs to.
if it needs to. I mean, we've done.
By the way, this is not a commercial. No money changes hand. Donnie's not giving me money or making me a free crown for this. I because I just really respect you for a long time. But your website is DonnieDental.com, and I think all of our listeners want to know: are you just a genius naming the lab after your wife? Did you just do that to get some brownie points? Name it after instead of Assan Dental?
All of above.
But it'll look bad in the divorce when you try to split up the business. She says, "Hey, it's my name, it's my company."
No, it's
It's easy to pronounce.
when we started the company, we thought about different combination of our letters and names or whatever. We all these have. You never had a business school before, and try to figure out. And we figure out Dani first is very common and easy to remember. I mean, and not surprisingly, still might have clients calling me Dani, although I'm Assan, which I don't care. As long as you send me the word, call me whatever you want. And also, Dani is the more hardworking from both of us. She's always on a bench there, checking, QCing everything, doing actual cases, custom shades with everybody, teaching. And I kind of step up the bench long time ago. I'm doing mostly treatment planning, running the business, marketing, communication with the doctors, showing my people, teaching, lecturing, stuff like that. So
I want to switch gears completely. I've only got you for 10 more minutes. You work with a lot of dentists long distance through the mail, but you work through a lot of dentists local.
hmm
So you get to see best practices. You get to see you're walking into offices. Some do 500,000, some do 1 million, some do 1,500,000. Why do you think What do you think the offices that are doing 1 million plus are more profitable or making more money, more fun, more easy, more profitable? What do you think they're doing more that the people struggling are doing less?
I think they're more business educated. I think most doctors have similar skills, and the one who don't, they can get it. But I think it's as I've been watching a lot of your lectures. I even joined Vistage. I don't know if you've ever heard of Vistage.
Vistage, no.
Vistage.com. It's in the business owners and CEOs.
Oh, Vistage. Oh, I thought you were thinking dental.
No, no,
Yeah. Vistage is a like an entrepreneur's.
correct.
So you
Correct.
joined that.
Oh yeah, last year it's the best thing ever happened to us.
You joined it last year.
Yes, I've been on.
They've been trying to get me to join forever.
Oh, it's awesome thing.
Well, tell us about Vistage. How much did it cost?
It cost. They have a
Groups.
different groups with different fees. The lowest cost like $300 a month. You committed only once a month for a few hours only. But you have a mentor. You have a non-competing business owners and a group of 8 to 12 people, and they mentor each other about business, which doesn't matter dentistry or if you do toothpicks or shoes or accounting. Business is business, as you're always teaching that. So it's really amazing groups of people with a mentor that hold you accountable for what you promised to do, and every problem you go and share there. It's totally confidential, and they give you advice how to solve it or help you.
So it's just $300 a month.
Uh, as low as $300 a month.
Oh, as low as $300 a
Yeah,
month.
I'm going for highest level. It's like $1,200 a month. You have a full day of seminar and getting together, plus some one-on-one once a month, and you have a bunch of lectures and stuff for free. And I can bring staff and train staff. It's really the best money for business I ever spent the last year, honestly.
And that's vistage.com.
Yep, yep.
Right on. Now, are you in any other study clubs? for dental lab owners?
Oh yes, we're part of NADL, the National Dental Laboratory Association, CalAP. We didn't make it this year, but we constantly follow up on that. And we're part of
To
about
study clubs.
over 5 or 6 study clubs locally here.
Scottsdale Study Club?
Oh yes, that's the Paradise Valley, the Synergy, a couple.
Is Synergy the one with John Dubkin?
No, there's another Synergy and a couple Seattle study clubs here in town. Also, we have also 2 study clubs going at Dani Dental on a monthly basis for 2 specialists. So education is very important for us.
What special? So you have 2 different specialist study clubs?
Yeah, 2 periodontists having the study club at Dani Dental. Yeah, and every month they bring this referral base, hygienists, whatever they decide, they use the space. It's ready to go, and it helps really my employees and the doctors really kind of to mingle together, learn from each other is the best thing.
I've lectured in that space before.
Yeah,
That's a nice place.
yeah. So education is very important for us. We actually started a training program for our people. Again, every 2 weeks we do some kind of training on a different um, basis, and even simple anatomy and communication, all stuff. So it really helps us very much.
Well, man, you guys have been more than informative. We covered a lot of ground. Assan, Donnie, I think the world of you guys always have. Everyone I know, local that knows you, loves you.
Thank
I
you.
just want to tell you, seriously, thank you so much for spending an hour with me away from the bench and all that you do to come talk to my homies about how they can be better dentists working with their lab.
Oh,
Yeah.
pleasure to see you too.
It was nice to see you again.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks for
you.
having us.
And it's DaniDental.com, DaniDental. And if it has a deep voice, it's not Donnie, it's Assan.
Yes, and when you
But
go
they
on a
can call
website,
him Dani too.
yeah,
It's okay. I
they
don't
still
mind.
call me Don. It's fine. The good thing is on a website, if I just kind of tell people, you have all kind of resource button there, and there's a lot of things about photography for bigger cases, on for surgical stands, we do all that, so people can get a lot of good free information just going there.